A pure devotee of the Lord is ashamed to ask anything in self-interest from the Lord. But the householders are sometimes obliged to ask favors from the Lord, being bound by the tie of family affection. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and therefore she prayed to the Lord to cut off the affectionate tie from her own kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. The Pandavas are her own sons, and the Vrishnis are the members of her paternal family. Krishna was equally related to both the families. Both the families required the Lord's help because both were dependent devotees of the Lord. Srimati Kunti Devi wished Sri Krishna to remain with her sons, the Pandavas. But by his doing so, her paternal house would be bereft of the benefit. All these partialities troubled the mind of Kunti, and therefore she desired to cut off the affectionate tie. A pure devotee cuts off the limited ties of affection for his family and widens his activities of devotional service for all forgotten souls. The typical example is the band of 6 Goswamis who followed the path of Lord Chaitanya. All of them belong to the most enlightened and cultured rich families of the higher castes. But for the benefit of the mass of population, they left their comfortable homes and became mendicants. To cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. Without doing this, no one can be qualified as a Brahmana, a king, a public leader, or a devotee of the Lord. The personality of Godhead as an ideal king showed this by example. Sri Ramachandra cut off the tie of affection for his beloved wife to manifest the qualities of an ideal king. Such personalities as a Brahmana, a devotee, a king, or a public leader must be very broad-minded in discharging their respective duties. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and being weak, she prayed to be freed from such bondage of family affection. The Lord is addressed as the Lord of the universe, or the Lord of the universal mind, indicating his all-powerful ability to cut the hard knot of family affection. Therefore, it is sometimes experienced that the Lord, out of his special affinity towards a weak devotee, breaks the family affection by force of circumstances, arranged by his all-powerful energy. By doing so, he causes the devotee to become completely dependent on him, and thus clears the path for his going back to Godhead. So we have been reading Kunti's prayers in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very important prayers for spiritual contemplation, understanding. And in today's verse, she is praying something which is very significant. Atha Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte, O Lord of the universe, O mind of the universe, and the form of the universal form of the Lord, the soul of the universal form of the Lord, or the personality of the universal form of the Lord. Snehapasham imam chindhi, swakeshu me swakeshu snehapasham imam chindhi. She is praying, Krishna, please sever chindhi, the sneha pasham, the ties of affection which is drudham, which is very deep and very strong. Pandushu, Vrishnishu. Pandushu towards the Pandavas and Vrishnishu towards the Vrishnis. So Srila Prabhupada has explained in the purport, Kunti's position was such that her husband was Pandu, and so her sons were known as Pandavas. And so naturally, a woman would have affection for husband and children. Of course, in this case, the husband had passed away, and so her children. And on the other hand, her father, Shurasena, was a part of the Vrishni dynasty. So she had, as naturally as a woman would have, or any person would have, attachment to the father and the father's family. And now Krishna was here, this is happening in Hastinapura, and he is about to leave, and he is heading towards Dwaraka, which means he will be there with the Vrishnis. So she is in a dilemma. Should I request Krishna, please stay with us? Because Pandavas will be so much benefited by your presence. Or should I request Krishna, please, you must go to Dwaraka, because my paternal family, all the Vrishnis, they will be benefited. What should I do? This is a dilemma between her sons and her father's family. But then she realizes that this is all very complex. These ties of affection to manage. And she is saying, please, Sneha Pasham Imam Chindhi. Please sever these ties of affection. This is a prayer of a pure devotee. Generally, people don't pray to God, please sever the ties of my of affection. We usually pray, please keep all the ties of affection very nicely. This set of affection, these family members, they have all of this requirement, and they have this requirement, another they have. Please, Krishna, bless all of them with all of those things so that we will have good life. That's what people usually ask. Of course, there is a place for such prayer too. That is actually called Karma Mishra Bhakti, where we pray to God for certain material benefits. And even in the Hindu religion, in the Vedic religion, the bulk of the teachings of the Vedic literatures is about this, where we approach God for our material necessities. Not only in the Hindu religion, by and large, most religions in the world are about this, seeking God for material benefit. In Christianity, every Sunday, people go to the church, and an important prayer they offer is, O Lord, thou art in heaven, please give us our daily bread. The daily bread symbolizes all the different necessities of our life, and we go to God and ask. The fact that somebody is going to God and asking is beneficial for that. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are trying to understand among all of the Vedic literatures the highest knowledge. In the Vedic knowledge, there is gradation. There is elementary knowledge, more advanced knowledge, and the most advanced knowledge. Just like that is true in any branch of knowledge, isn't it? Just like, say, mathematics. There is elementary mathematics. In primary school, children learn simple concepts of mathematics. When they go to high school, they learn little more complex concepts of mathematics. When they go to college, they learn even more. And if they are going to specialize on that, there will be more and more concepts, very complex concepts, advanced mathematics. That's how mathematics books are. If you go to a bookstore, you can find a primary school mathematics or a high school mathematics, college, advanced, most advanced. In the same way, the Vedic knowledge is also, when Vyasadeva for the first time compiled this knowledge in a written form, he compiled them in a graded manner. The most basic information, the basic knowledge of the Vedic wisdom are in the 4 Vedas. They talk about the different devatas and the different mantras and the different sacrificial methods, how to please and satisfy all of these different devatas, so that the devatas who control the different necessities of the human beings in the material world are provided, especially human society. More or less, it is about good life now and also good life in the next life. Next, the Upanishads bring about more spiritual ideas and spiritual concepts. But the Upanishads cannot be understood easily without the help of the Puranas, which describe how different sages, different kings, different devotees, different devatas, how they practiced some of these spiritual principles. So the Puranas are itihasas, are case studies, which helps us to understand some of these spiritual concepts mentioned in the Upanishads. So Puranas help us to understand the Upanishads message, the Vedic message better. So even higher than the Upanishads and the Puranas are what is called, actually Vedavyasa was doing all of this, compiling the Vedas, the Upanishads. He wrote 108 Upanishads. And he had different disciples. And he assigned to each of them different Upanishads, different Vedas, and told them, now you go on broadcast. You may say, why? If it is elementary knowledge, why the... Yes, you see, just like in the example of mathematics. For a child, if you give a very advanced mathematics book, the child cannot understand, cannot appreciate. In the same way, there are advanced spiritual topics which cannot be easily appreciated by people who are not sufficiently spiritually advanced. If you make a child sit in a college mathematics classroom and the teacher, professor is teaching some advanced mathematics, the child will be very confused, cannot understand, cannot appreciate. In the same way, the Vedic literatures, there has to be a certain preparedness among the audience to absorb and appreciate and understand and derive benefit from that knowledge. Otherwise, one cannot take the benefit from that. That is why Krishna says, this concept is captured in the word, in the Bhagavatam, in the word Shushrushu. Sadhya hrudya varudyate krutubhi shushrushu tatskshanat. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Ishvara sadhya hrudya varudyate krutubhi shushrushu tatskshanat. This Bhagavatam enables one to quickly capture the Lord in the heart, provided one is kritubihi and shushrushubihi. Kritubihi means virtuous, free from sinful activities, and shushrushubihi means who are very eager to understand this knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita also, when Krishna talks about the Sarva Dharman Parityajya and all of that, and then Krishna says, this knowledge is very confidential, Arjuna. You may not share this with na tapaskaya, na bhaktaya, na anabhyasuyate, na ashrushrushave. Those who are not shushrushu, don't share this knowledge. So there is a spiritual eagerness. I want to know more and more about the spiritual truth. That eagerness is the measure of spiritual advancement of an individual. By and large, most people are not interested in knowing the spiritual concepts. They are happy having a nice family, get good money, enjoy life. And for such people, Vedas are sufficient. They will help them how to get the necessities of life, good family, good progeny, good job, good money, fame, and all of that. For somebody who wants to know, I want to know what is this world all about? What is the purpose of this creation? Who am I? Why the universe exists? Why I exist? Where has all these things come from? If somebody is eager to know that, then that person has now ready for more and more spiritual knowledge. In fact, there are transcendentalists who are ready to set aside everything in life because they want to understand and appreciate that highest truth. They are known as the Paramahamsas. And such Paramahamsas can have access to the highest knowledge. Now these very advanced spiritual concepts, Vedavyasa wrote in the form of the Vedanta. That is why it is called Veda Anta. Veda means knowledge and Anta means the ultimate of knowledge. Just like advanced mathematics requires advanced qualifications. Somebody has studied a lot and then has trained himself and has secured good number of marks, and then so he has become a good and he has got interest in it. He has the competence to understand. Now he can be exposed and taught higher concepts of mathematics. In the same way, the spiritual hunger, the spiritual eagerness, no, I must know what this is all about, what this universe is all about. Unless that eagerness is there is no point. One will not be able to appreciate, one will not be able to absorb. So the whole Vedic program is to gradually build and train up and make a person gradually build up his spiritual appetite. Yes, I want to know more. That philosophical appetite to understand the truths. So, Vedanta was compiled by Vedavyasa, but it was in the form of sutras, and Vedavyasa and other sages had a concern. Will people of Kali Yuga be able to understand this? So now he thought that yes, and he was instructed by, Vedavyasa was instructed by his guru, Narada Muni, no, you should write an explanation on this Vedanta. And so he went about writing the explanation on the Vedanta, and that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the position of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why it is said, Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. Nigama means Vedas. If you compare the Nigama, Vedas or Vedic knowledge to Kalpataru, a wish-fulfilling tree. If you go to a wish-fulfilling tree, it can fulfill any wish of yours. It's a mystical, mythical tree. In the same way, if you go to the Vedic wisdom, if you approach the Vedic wisdom, it will satisfy all your desires. You want a good wife, a good husband, good children, no problem. You can approach the Vedas. Vedas will give you the processes, the methods, the rituals and the worship that you have to do, where you will get punya and you will get good wife, good husband, good children, good money. All of that's in the Vedas. No, if you want to know more and more advanced things, the Upanishads are there, the Puranas are there. No, I want to know the highest knowledge. Yes, that is also provided. That is why Vedavyasa describes Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. In a tree, the most valuable thing is the fruit. And not the raw fruit, the ripe fruit. That is why it is called galitam phalam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the galitam phalam in the Nigama kalpataru. It is the most advanced. And that is why here we see in Kunti's prayers some of the very advanced topics. Because the highest perfection that the Vedic literatures point out, not so easily people know these things. Srila Prabhupada made it very easy for us to understand. Prabhupada said, the perfection of religion is to understand God and develop love for Him. This is the perfection. Most people in the beginning stages don't want to know God and develop love for God. They are more interested in their own family members and the love for them, and that is what they want to be absorbed in their life. You see, the spiritual appetite is very less to understand higher spiritual truths. For them, the Vedas are enough. But by following the Vedic process, their life can get regulated and they will make some advancement too. So, in the higher realms of understanding love of God, and that love of God is called bhakti or prema bhakti. In bhakti also there are some gradation, and the highest level of bhakti is called the prema bhakti. The Bhagavatam is teaching about prema bhakti, and for understanding prema bhakti, you need the background of vairagya. That is why Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, one of the great associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he composed several prayers about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One of them, he says, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharthamekha Purusha Purana Sri Chaitanya Shariradhari Krupam Budhiryas Tamaham Prapadye. This bhakti, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga, the practice of Bhakti Yoga is in terms of an aspect of Bhakti Yoga is Vairagya Vidya. Knowledge and renunciation, or knowledge about renunciation. So Kunti, they are all pure devotees. They are They love Krishna. So they understand the signs of love of Krishna. And so she is praying, Krishna, Sneha Pasham Imam Chindhi. Now, one may ask the question, why is it that love of God, this knowledge, this understanding, requires Chindi, Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi, severing the ties of affection, breaking the knots of affection? Why is that? Because all of these ties of affection and living with and just enhancing and strengthening the tie of affection and all of those affection for the family members, if that becomes the central point in our life, that simply reinforces our ignorance. And the biggest ignorance is the bodily conception of life. That we think, I am the body. Actually, we are not the body. We are a spirit soul. We are allowed to live in this body for a short length of time. And then we have to leave this body and move on. But the ignorance is to think that I am the body. And because we think I am the body, I think that this is my father, this is my mother, and they are my father and mother. How are they father and mother? They gave birth to this body. And this is my children because they came from my body. And this is my brother, this is my sister, because we all come from the same father. So it's all connected with the bodily ties, and it is stemming from the basic understanding, I am the body. And so these are all people connected to me. And so I must have affection for all of them. And whole life where all of these affections are highly encouraged and stimulated and enriched, such a life is simply reinforcing the illusion and the ignorance that we are already in. So some people by and large want to be in that. Fair enough. For them the Vedas are there. No, there are some people who want to know what is all this about. For them, the higher knowledge is there. Who we really are. We are a spirit soul. So, the Bhagavatam is teaching us higher and higher principles of love of God and how to develop that love of God. What are the hurdles that we have to overcome to develop love of God? And so, Kunti's prayer is appropriate. Sneha Pasham Imam Chindhi Drudham Pandushu Vrishnishu. She is praying to Krishna, please sever these ties. In the next verse, she is going to say, or the next few verses, right, next verse, what she wants that Sneha Pasham to be towards. And how that Sneha Pasham towards that higher object, how that Sneha Pasham should be. Sneha is not denied. Love is not denied. Because you cannot be without love. Because that's the nature of the living entity. We are all ultimately related to Krishna in a loving relationship. Right now we have forgotten that. We have thinking that I am the body and the various ties connected with the body, my family. And sometimes we expand that, my community. Sometimes we expand that even further, my state. Sometimes we expand that even further, my country. Sometimes we expand that even further, all of humanity. So all of these are simply an extension and a modification of the basic ignorance. The fact is that we are a spirit soul. So this understanding is very significant, very vital for developing love of Krishna. Who is Krishna? Because all of this is a temporary arrangement under the laws of nature. Our true relationship is with respect to Krishna. So in fact, when we talk about all these things, one question that may come to anyone's mind is, you are all practicing Krishna consciousness? A question that will come. So there is no love and affection in Krishna consciousness for our family members. So how should a husband feel for the wife, or wife should feel for the husband? How should mothers feel for their children? And how should children feel for their mothers and fathers? There is no room for affection. No, there is room for affection. In Krishna consciousness, all of these things exist. But it is with enlightenment and with a certain regulation, so that we will not miss out the opportunity of attaining the highest perfection of life, which is only possible in human life. In Krishna consciousness, love and affection for family members, it is not that it is not permitted. There is no place for that. No, there is a place. But it is with enlightenment and with certain regulation. What is this all about? Let's understand this. Just like, let's take an example of a young man. He sees a young, beautiful woman. And he's attracted to her. And she is also attracted to him. And then they get together, they meet. And they get to know each other a little better. And then they say, oh, wonderful, let's live together. And let's have a relationship. And they get probably married, let us say. Now, they now become related and they love each other, like each other, and they are now beginning to live together. And now you may say, no, they will be also take mutual responsibilities, all of that. Yes, all this is happening. But here, the basic understanding is that he was a young man, he was drawn and attracted to a young woman, and he thought that, okay, let's have good... And it was, he also had grown up and he saw, wow, some nice relationship and it is so pleasurable. Let me enjoy this. This is how the relationship develops. Right? Now in this, there is no consideration. Who is this person who is in the form of a beautiful woman? Who is she? What is the truth about her? Where is she? What is this all about? There is no such understanding at all. The marriage relationship, it is a mutual and reciprocal convenience. I will help you, you will help me, we both of us will help each other, and we can have good life. There is no enlightened understanding. Who are all these women? Who are all these men? Why this interaction happens? Why this love, the so-called love happens between them? What's all these things? And they live for some time, and after some time, even if everything goes fine in life, there is death and we separate. And what happens with all these things? What is all this about? This overall picture, understanding is not there. In Krishna consciousness, we understand that all of us have come from Krishna. The beautiful young girl, the beautiful handsome young man, our children who are born after marriage, all of us, our father, our mother, from whom we have come, all of us are related to Krishna. Because we have all Mamaivamsho Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Krishna is saying, all the living entities are my Amsha. But they don't know that. Manashashtandriyani Prakriti Sthani Karshati. Karshati means struggle. Prakriti Sthani means they are situated in this material Prakriti. They are actually Amsha, Jiva. They are my Amsha. But they don't know this. They are Prakritisthani. They have got a material body, which is a part of this material world. They are Prakritisthani, Manashashtandriyani, with the five senses and the mind. And the five senses are dragging them to different Vishayas, sense objects. And the mind and the senses are running after all of these things, hoping that that will give them happiness. And they are running after these things. But it is all going to be a struggle for them, because it will not satisfy them. Manashashtandriyani, Prakritisthani, Karshati. Although they are my part and parcel. This is what Krishna is saying. So this understanding that all of us are part and parcel of Krishna. Now once we understand that, and now I have a relationship with Krishna, I must develop that relationship with Krishna. Now you may ask the question, okay, if I am developing relationship with Krishna, what about my family members, my children, my wife, my husband, my father, mother, all of these things? They are also related to Krishna. Now if I develop love for Krishna, and Krishna has many other living entities who are also related to him, I am also have a love and connection, affection and concern for all of them also. It is not that I won't be related. It is me and Krishna only. No, if I have loving relationship with Krishna, and Krishna has many other living entities with whom he has a relationship also, I will also be related to all of them with love and affection and concern. Prabhupada gave a nice example to help us understand this. Let's take, there is a woman, a young woman, and she is now getting married. And a man has been found, and a certain family, the parents have seen that yes, this man is a very good man, and now she is going to be married to that husband, to that man, and he is going to become the husband. Now, in that man's family, there are so many people. The man's father and mother are there. The man's brother and sisters are there. And the man's uncle. So many people are there. Now this woman gets married to that man as a wife. Moment she is connected to that man as the wife, and he becomes the husband, immediately all the people connected to that man also becomes connected to her by virtue of the husband connection. The man's father and mother will become her father-in-law and mother-in-law. The man's brother and sister will become her brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And everyone in that family, through that one connection with that husband, all the other relationships gets established. It is not that no, she is related to the husband and everyone else, she doesn't care. No. All those other people who are connected to the husband, she also gets connected to all of them. In the same way, when we connect ourselves to Krishna and all the living entities who are also connected to Krishna, we get connected to them with love and affection. If that is not there, if that central point is not there, we try to link up ourselves with one soul, another soul, this low soul, she has got a nice form, so I will get related to her. This child, this very nice to look at this child, I will show some affection to them. So these are all just temporary expressions and arrangements here without proper enlightenment. In Krishna consciousness, we are trying to get a full picture of understanding what this is all about. And we understand who is Krishna. I mentioned two things. Srila Prabhupada mentions. Whatever we mention is what Srila Prabhupada has taught us. Srila Prabhupada mentions two things. One is that we look at all of these relationships connected with our family with enlightenment, with knowledge. And the second thing Srila Prabhupada says is that, and we regulate all of these emotions and relationships that we have. Because we may sometimes can get carried away by all of these emotions. And so much so that if we get carried away and we lose our opportunity to attain the highest perfection of life, then what is the use? So there is an opportunity, there is love, affection and concern, and that love should also be under regulation, meaning it is under certain framework of rules. So a man and a woman can get related as husband and wife within marriage. And outside of the marriage, if a man tries to seek a relationship with a woman, it is forbidden. If a woman tries to seek a relation with another man outside the marriage framework, it is forbidden. It is not good. It is going to lead to sinful activities. So there is enlightenment and there is regulation. So now, how does this, with this enlightenment, how does that love and affection manifest? The love and affection is manifest. Suppose there is a man, he has a wife. It is not that he cannot feel loving and affection for the wife or for the children. Now he also has the understanding, my wife is actually a spirit soul. She is also part and parcel of Krishna. My children, actually they are also spirit soul. They are also part and parcel of Krishna. And now I know the highest perfection is to become lover of Krishna. Because that's what we are all truly, originally, naturally related to. Now, how can I help my wife, my children, my father, my mother, all of them, so that they will also attain the perfection of developing love for Krishna? That concern, that care becomes the dominant factor that is governing that loving relationship between the family members. That becomes the dominant feature. And as a certain level of material obligation and responsibility, a certain duty to the wife, children, that is also not forgotten. But the overriding principle is that yes, I must look after my wife, provide for her material requirements, and also for her spiritual progress to attain the perfection of human life, which is to become a lover of Krishna. These two principles, enlightenment and enabling and assisting and supporting and caring, that all my family members also attain that perfection, that becomes a dominant overriding factor in the life of a devotee. So it is not that there is no love and affection. It is the dominating factor is that yes, I love them so much, I must give them the highest thing. And the highest thing I have understood is Krishna consciousness. And how I can help them also attain that Krishna consciousness in this lifetime. Let me become that support and guide and facilitator for that attainment. This is the kind of a relationship, this is the kind of a affection that is permitted and possible even within a Krishna conscious life. So, it is not that in Krishna consciousness we lead a dry life. Sneha pasham imam chindhi. I am disconnecting all the ties, and so I don't care for my husband. I don't care for my wife. I don't care for my children. Me and Krishna. This is a wrong understanding. This is not what is encouraged. One should, that love and affection one feels should become more enlightened love and affection. That now I must not only provide for their material necessities, I must provide for their highest spiritual necessity. That is also my obligation. That is why Bhagavatam says, don't become a father, don't become a mother, don't become a husband, unless you are able to free your related persons from the cycle of birth and death. And we can be freed from the cycle of birth and death only by becoming a lover of Krishna and going back to the spiritual world. So that higher responsibility we understand, and that also begins to govern our feelings and emotions and relationships even within the family. We will stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitago Premanande.